What's good, YouTube? Sensational Sinceres here, and I'm back with another Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. We're here for June 25th, 2021's Vendor Reset. So let's get right into this to see what we got good for this week. For our first gear items, head over to Camp Hudson. Here the weapons vendor has a heavy magazine spring. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Hudson. Head over to the gear vendor here. We got a gunslinger vest with the talent Reckless. For our next gear items, head over to the meat locker. Here the weapons vendor has a SOCOM M1A. And also here we got an angle grip red. For our next gear items, head over to the base of operations. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a surplus SVD. Next here we got a prototype performance mod with 4.50% ballistic shield damage resilience. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the gear vendor, and here we got a prototype firearms mod with 259 firearms and 3% skill haste. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the advanced weaponry vendor, and here we got a custom P416 G3. Next here we got a military M60E4. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special equipment vendor, and here we got a pecan if you like to run this weapon. Next here we got a liberator. Also here we got a converted USC. Next here we got a military AK-47M. Also here we got a Super 90. Next here we got an operator mask with the talent rehabilitated. Next here we got a tactical vest with the talent rapid. Also here we got a tactical pack with the talent specialized. Next here we got a heavy magazine spring. Also here we got an Omega rifle suppressor. Next here we got a vertical grip FDE. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special blueprints vendor. Here we got a first wave PF45 blueprint with a gear score of 256. For our next gear items, head over to Camp Clinton. Here the special equipment vendor has a pecan if you like this weapon. Next here we got a Cassidy. Also here we have a tactical AUG 83P. Next here we got a Scar L. Also here we got a military M870. Next here we got a Spec Ops mask with the talent Tenacious. We also got a gunslinger vest here with the talent Rapid. We also have a Spec Ops pack with the talent Specialized. Next here we got a prototype performance mod with 2% pulse critical hit damage. Next here we got a heavy magazine spring. We also got a large suppressor FDE. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Clinton. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got a first wave PF45 blueprint with a gear score of 256. Next here we got some electronic gloves, blueprint with a gear score of 256. We also got a firearms mask, blueprint with a gear score of 256. For our next gear items, head over to Dante's Run. Here the gear vendor has a tactical vest with the talent Rapid. For our next gear items, head over to Wolves Den. Here the weapons vendor has a muzzle brake. It's got 14% stability. I've never seen one like that before. For our next gear items, head over to Autumn's Hope. Here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 6% sticky bomb explosion radius. For our next gear items, head over to the Southpaw. Here the gear vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 266 firearms and 2.50% exotic damage resilience. For our next gear items, head over to the Firewall. Here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent Inventive. For our next gear items, head over to the Crypt. Here the weapons vendor has a C79 scope. For our next gear items, head over to West 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a double barrel shotgun. Next here we got a Spec Ops pack with the talent Inventive. We also got a prototype performance mod with 7% support station range. And also here we got a small grip red. For our next gear items, head over to West 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to West 39th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a military G36. For our next gear items, head over to West 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an M870 Express. And also here we got a high velocity magazine. For our next gear items, head over to West 46th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 7.50% mobile cover health. And also here we got an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an operator vest with the talent Rapid. For our next gear items, head over to East 61st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a heavy magazine spring. For our next gear items, head over to East 58th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a tactical vest with the talent Vigorous. Next here we got a Spec Ops pack with the talent Relentless. For our next gear items, head over to the Park Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a converted USC. Next here we got a lightweight M4. It's not the best roll, but I figured I'd mention it. Also here we got a police MK17. And also here we got a military RPK-74M. For our next gear items, head over to East 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype stamina mod with 266 stamina and 3% skill haste. For our next gear items, head over to East 46th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an ACR. For our next gear items, head over to East 40th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an MG5. Next here we got an operator pack with a Talent Inventive. For our next gear items, head over to East 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% ballistic shield damage. For our next gear items, head over to East 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% sticky bomb damage. For our next gear items, head over to the 5th Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a military AK-47M. And also here we got a C79 scope. For our next gear items, head over to DZ2 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the Talent Enduring. Next here we have a Spec Ops armor with the Talent Reckless. Also here we got a tactical pack with the Talent Inventive. For our next gear items, head over to DZ3 safe room. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a converted USC. Next here we got a military AK-47M. Also here we got an M870 Express. For our next gear items, head over to DZ8 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has an operator mask with the Talent Enduring. Next here we got a tactical vest with the Talent Reckless. Alright everybody, that's it for our Talent Clancy's The Division vendor reset video for June 25th, 2021's vendor reset. I hope everybody tuned into it, found them something that they needed. Smash on that sub and like button, y'all appreciate that support, and I will see y'all with the next one. Everybody take care, peace.